Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. So let's start our video with a story in which our OP encounters Karen, who doesn't get it right the first time, or the second time either. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I don't work here, and neither does my bag. For those who aren't aware, Aldi is a chain of mid-sized grocery stores. They rebranded themselves a few years ago as a sort of middle ground between a standard grocer and a Whole Foods, with options healthier than, say, Walmart, but not full-on super health craze like Whole Foods. But one of the defining characteristics of Aldi is that you pay for your cart. There's a device that locks all the carts together, so when you need one, you insert a quarter into the device, decoupling it from the next cart. When you finish shopping, you return the cart to the line and recouple it, at which point you can then remove your quarter. However, Aldi does not offer a similar function for anything else. Not hand-carried baskets, and definitely not for bags. This is where our story begins. I do most of my grocery shopping at Walmart, but I do hit the Aldi nearby for a few small things. Usually I don't need to bother with the cart due to the low volume. Instead, I bring in my own foil-lined insulated bag. I have the bags because I live out in the country, so when I get takeout or buy cold stuff at the store, the stuff is still hot or cold respectively by the time I get home 15 minutes later. When I go to Aldi, I just bring the insulated bag in with me, put items in it while I shop, tell the cashier how many of each item I have, so I don't even need to unload them, and easy peasy, no carts required. As I left the store, had just removed my mask as I passed through the doors, a few weeks ago, our dear Karen saw me with the bag in hand. I hadn't zipped it up yet as I was still messing with the mask and had some fridge cold stuff from Walmart I was going to put in the truck before I started home. Karen must have seen that it had the foil insulation with purchased items, and this is what ensued. Karen: "Hey you!" Snapping fingers. Why do they always snap? You! I turned to face her. Yes? "Okay, give me that when you're done." Points at my bag. Me: "Ma'am, these are my groceries. I won't be done with them until I eat them in the coming weeks." "Okay, I know that. What do I look like, a moron?" "Well, I meant the bag, idiot." Me: "Ma'am, this bag is also mine." "Okay, yeah, it's yours now, but when you bring it back to get your coin, then I want it." Me: "Again, this is my bag, not the store's. Aldi doesn't have bags. They only do the quarter thing for the cards." "Okay, bullcrap. They have bags at checkout. I can see them from here." Me: "Yeah, those are for sale, not temporary use. And this bag isn't from Aldi. I got it on Amazon." "Okay, whatever. You should still bring it to me. I only need it for a few minutes, and I don't have a quarter for the carts anyway." "Oh, so we're in one of those situations? Gotcha. Effery mode engaged. In my current military job, I'm an instructor, and one of the skills we master during this assignment is the art of staring in silence with a completely blank look on our face. It's a great tool to force students to engage in discussion, embracing the silence until one of them gets so uncomfortable that they start talking about anything just to break the silence. We also use continuous questions to challenge students to delve deeper into topics. Lots of why and how questions that force them to come to their own conclusions. Me stares an instructor. "Okay." After almost 10 seconds, "Well?" Me: "Well, what?" "Okay. What are you waiting for? Go unload your groceries and bring me that bag." She was approaching shrill by the end of the sentence. Me: "Why would I do that?" "Okay. Because I need that bag to shop." Me: "Why is that my problem?" "Okay. What are you talking about?" Me: "Why is your lack of a bag or coin something I need to help you with?" "Okay," visibly struggling with the effort of thinking. Because, head cocks to the side a bit, then she rallies back into indignation mode. "Ugh, just get out of my face, you little crap." Me: "Weren't you the one who stopped me to demand I give you my personal property?" Okay, devolving into guttural utterances that barely resembled a spoken language. Me, still hiding behind my stoic instructor face. "Okay, you people are what's wrong with this country." She stormed off into the store without a cart. Me: "Have a wonderful day," as I wave at her. Oh, the joys of malicious passivity. OMG, you handled that so well, OP. Where do these people come from? What rock do they crawl out from under? 20 years ago, if someone said that around where I live, they'd have laughed her out of town as the weirdo she is. In my opinion, you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble by just saying, sure, I'll bring it right back, then get in your car to drive off. Wouldn't have been a good a story, though. And our second story. The FU error code. My dad was working at a company in the 1980s. Before he was hired, that company had acquired a company in another state. The employees of the other company were told not to worry, that everything would remain the same, no change to the status quo. The owner was changing, but everything else would be the same. A few months later, they announced that they were moving the company from the other state to the state my dad lived in and merging them. So anyone who didn't want to move, well, don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. So there were some hard feelings, and many of them, reasonably enough, had a rather bad attitude about things. My dad was hired after all this had happened, but he was local to the city they got merged to, so as far as many of the people were concerned, he was part of the enemy. So the custom operating system that the company that was bought had developed was such that it resided in a specific region of memory with a hard-coded address. So it couldn't be expanded in size because applications running were all loaded in memory above that address. To change it would have required way too much time. One day, my dad needed something from those guys, so he went to ask them. Jim was the systems engineer and Harold was the applications engineer, and they shared an office. So my dad walked into the office, and Jim was already visibly in a bad mood. Jim needed to make a modification to the OS, but that would cause the OS to exceed the maximum size by something like 4 bytes, i.e. a very tiny amount. He was griping about it. Dad said, well, you have a string of characters that you display whenever you issue a system error. Dad thinks it was something like system error. So maybe just shorten that string and it could free up the space. Dad was thinking maybe something like sys error or whatever. But Jim replied, what should I shorten it to? This was irritating. Dad already did the hard part, thinking of a way to free up space. What was it to him what they shortened it to? They always gave Dad a hard time about anything and everything. So Dad said, shorten it to FU. Jim asked, what does that stand for? And Dad replied, FU, and walked away. So fast forward a few months, the OS had never been documented by the guys that wrote it, and the current company wanted it to be documented, so they assigned Barry to document it. One day, Barry walked into my dad's office and says, Bill, I need your help. Oh yeah? How can I help you? My dad asked. Well, I have a question about the OS, and Jim said to ask you. He replied. What's that? Dad asked. What does FU stand for? So my dad told him. Barry was shocked and said that, I can't put that into the documentation. Sorry, that's not my problem, said my dad. I was kidding Jim, but it was his choice to use that. It took Barry several weeks to think over the whole situation, but one day he walked into my dad's office and said, I know what FU stands for. It stands for fault unresolved. And so that was that. Of course, most users who read that in the documentation probably said, yeah, sure it does. I think it's the right thing to do, even in the most difficult situations. Don't get discouraged and stay positive. And our last story. Neighbor tried to bully HOA into enforcing non-existent rules on me. For the background, we'd just gotten our kids some play equipment for Christmas, trampoline, jungle gym, play set, and swings, to help them get outside during the summer. Our HOA has what's referred to as a side plane restriction. Basically, anything in the backyard needs to be tucked behind the house. I personally find the rule dumb, as 20% of the homes in the neighborhood have backyards that border on a road, so no amount of tucking will hide their visibility. So original placement got flagged because we were in violation of that rule. Tried to fight it and lost. Wife and I figured we'll get things moved behind the house to comply while we play the long game of trying to get that rule scrapped, getting more amenable board members elected. Part of this process involved moving an existing shed to the other side of our yard to free up space to get everything else shifted over. As part of the application process, we have to get 4 neighbors to sign the application to prove we informed them of our plans. That's all the signature's supposed to mean, not that you personally agree with the changes. Well, a certain Karen flipped the F out when she learned we wanted to move the shed closer to her yard, told us that wouldn't work, refused to sign the form, bullied another neighbor so he didn't want to sign. Thankfully, it's a large community, so not hard to gather 4 signatures. One of the poor individuals, though, would later be cussed out by Karen for not picking her side. Cue Covenant's meeting, and who do I see decided to attend? Effing Karen. She goes on a long butt rant about how moving my shed would be the gravest effing injustice on the planet, and starts complaining about other crap she didn't approve of on my property, including a screened-in porch that was built 20 effing years before I bought the place. Speak up in defense of said bullcrap, and committee reviews my requests and say they don't have any questions. As I'm leaving, I overhear Karen saying she wants to see my applications. Technically, it's past the public viewing period, but didn't care to argue semantics. Review away, lady. Next day, I learned my shed application was approved, but I can only keep half of the play equipment I requested due to visual impact on the neighbors. Karen decided to F over my kids when she couldn't get her way regarding the shed, filed an appeal with the board, and type up a effing laundry list of why their restriction is bullcrap based on our architecture guidelines. First of which, there's no cap on equipment. The effing committee said as much during Karen's B-Fest, but apparently caved just to shut her up. Another that my other neighbors are effing fine with it. So why does Karen McB-Face's opinion reign supreme? Thankfully, the board was a bit more pragmatic during my appeal, and I learned today I'm good to keep all of my play equipment. Get effed, Karen. I'm bound by the HOA's rules, not your damn personal thoughts. I'm going to enjoy smiling and waving at your bitter butt every time I enter that shed to grab something or my kids are playing outside on their equipment. Wow, guys, such a crazy person. Some people are so miserable and they want everyone else to be miserable as them. If they're so concerned about what can be seen from the street, why not just mandate fences? I could never live somewhere where I couldn't do what I wanted to do in my own yard that I own and pay for. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.